Carolyn Dube here with this month's colorful jelly print party, and this is a very healthy jelly printing month, and that's because it has to do with bottles of vitamins. Well, not full bottles of vitamins, but empty ones, because it was going to be the perfect surface for you to make something to play with on the jelly plate. So I'm going to make a stamp that I'm going to put on the jelly plate, and what I've got here is the bottle. I have got some very thick, quick drying glue that I'm smearing all over the top of the bottle. And you can do this on any flat surface. And that's sticky back fun foam from the craft store. And I'm just going to kind of create a shape that's on here. And you know what? I'm just going to say oops with this one, because this was not really the shape that I was going for when I started this. I know, you're so shocked that things did not go quite as I had thought they would. But in the end, I'm really happy with how this turned out. So once again, an oops was an outstanding opportunity that presented suddenly. There's limitless ways you can put shapes on top of these things, and I have to admit, I'm very excited when we all take our vitamins now, because it means I'm getting closer to another empty bottle that I can do this with. I didn't have to use a sticky back fun foam because I am sticking it in a bunch of glue, but I also know that I don't like to wait that long for things to dry, so I gave myself every possible chance to make this adhere as best as possible. So now it's ready to go as my stamp for the jelly plate. So I'm working on the 12 by 14 jelly plate, and I've got 3 colors of paint here that I'm squirting out that I think will look nice and fun together. And I'm just going to brayer them around. You'll notice that it's a fairly thick application of paint, and maybe I don't need quite that much, but I do want this to be fairly juicy. So when I'm doing this, I want a nice wet surface, and it'll make sense to you once you see what we're going to do with this. I'm not really blending the colors together. They're all sort of just sitting side by side. The blending together is going to come in just a moment. So I'm going to take my homemade stamp and I'm going to put it down and I'm going to twist and turn it. And what I'm doing is I'm picking up paint from each place that I'm going to. And as I pick up a whole bunch of paint, as I'm twisting and lifting and transferring paint here and there, it's gonna glob up on my little homemade stamp there. So that's where you're seeing me stamp it off on my art journal page. But I gotta admit, I'm getting kind of addicted to it over there, as well as on the jelly. So this is a win-win, and not a drop of paint is wasted. One of my favorite things about the jelly plate is nothing gets wasted. One drawback to this technique, though, in doing it on the 12 by 14 is because I'm working on a large space. If I'm in a place where my paint will dry very quickly, I'll have to move even faster than what I'm doing. The nice part about moving so quickly is you can't really think that hard. I'm just filling in spaces and transferring that over. Because once the paint does dry, I'm not going to get as many prints off of it. So there's why I had such a juicy application, is because I wanted to buy myself some time to do this. And I had planned on doing fewer stamping impressions with this, but frankly, it was just really addictive. So I just kept going because I felt like doing that. Well, now it's time to start pulling some prints off with this. So I'm going to stick the paper down there. I'm just using plain old white cardstock there. And as I lift it up, I'm going to get this great mixture of all these wonderful sort of summery, sherbety colors. You can see where the colors have blended and merged everywhere that I twisted and turned. One of the things that I really love to watch on a jelly plate is how the print changes from the first one all the way through the ghosts. So the first one had lots and lots of paint on it, but each time I'm doing this, I'm getting a little less paint. The pattern is changing, it's shifting, it's adjusting. You can see I've pulled up a lot of paint from the center, but the stuff on the edges is still a little bit thicker. So I'm going to get slightly different looks around the edges than in the center when I peel this one up. And I really love that randomness to it. Now I can actually take this same print and go get some paint from somewhere else. I don't have to have a fresh piece of paper every single time, and that really changes how the print looks. Completely different feeling to it than my very first pull. And I'm just going to keep adding more and more color and pattern to this one piece of paper. I can keep using the same one over and over again, building up the color and the layers on it. I'm also very excited about the updates that I've made to my website. Under the tab Parties and Play, you can find the colorful jelly print party, and you can find all of the previous parties on there, as well as a direct link right over to the Google community called the Colorful Playground, where people are sharing what they're making with their jelly plates, I should say. Well, they're sharing their prints that they're making with their plates. Anyway, tongue twister there. So take a moment, pop over to the blog, and check it all out. Who would have guessed finishing up my vitamins would lead to so much joy here? So I've got that loaded with paint homemade texture tool stampy thing. Those are my first 2 prints that I made. And then I've got that whole journal page of all those wonderful shapes stamped off on it. Well, thanks so much for joining me for this month's colorful jelly print party. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for being a part of this colorful journey.